It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222, your emails at randywangradio@gmail.com, and search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. Today is the 1-year anniversary of the devastating yet preventable fires that broke out in the Palisades and in the Altadena area. There are a lot of emotions stirring within people as we reach this milestone. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you want to vent, if you have things on your mind that you want to say 1 year out from the most destructive fire event that we've ever seen in Southern California, the phone lines are open right now. If you want to talk about the fires, I'm going to open up the phones for you. 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. Maybe you have an issue with how these fires started. Maybe you have an issue with the way the LAFD handled the after action report, or how Karen Bass has conducted herself through this entire thing, Gavin Newsom, the LADWP, SoCal Edison, and the fact that they most likely started the Eden fire. Give us a call, 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. There have been a lot of events commemorating today, some of them put on by politicians. One of them put on by locals is getting a lot of attention because it was titled the They Let Us Burn rally. And it was put on by Palisades residents that feel that the local electeds let them burn. One of the speakers at the They Let Us Burn rally was Spencer Pratt, notably from MTV reality show fame, who has become an outspoken critic after his home burned down and his parents' house burned down in the Palisades fire. He has been getting the inside scoop, talking to firefighters on the ground, all of the failures. He's been putting it out there on social media. He spoke at this event, and he had a major announcement. We're going to play you his speech because it is quite moving. Here was from earlier today.
Oh my gosh, I got more water coming out of my eyes than LADWP had in both our reservoirs.
Oh, he starts right off with a joke.
Oh my God. Here we go.
Thank you.
I don't have this part of my speech, but I just seeing everybody here and, you want me to be louder? Okay, here we go.
Talking to the mic, Spencer. Come on. You got a big stage right now.
Can't be yelling at me anymore. Okay, well, I just want to thank everyone for being here. It's the first time I've been somewhere where I know everyone feels what I feel. Because you go around every day, people go, oh, how are you? Oh, yeah, the fire, da-da-da. But it's like, I know.
It's got to be tough because it's probably, if you were in the fire zone, if you were evacuated, if you did lose your home or you can't live in your home because of smoke damage, people ask you about it every day. It's one of these disasters where it affects your aspect of every day because it's your home, it's your livelihood. I mean, he's one of the people, they lost everything.
Everyone standing here feels me. So I just want to thank God for giving us all the strength because honestly, I have more faith in this because you have to, because you think, why did this happen? Why is this happening? You got to believe there's a bigger reason. I got it. Otherwise, we're all effed. Okay, I'm here today to commemorate the 1-year anniversary of the worst day of my life. On January 7th, 2025, Heidi and I lost our home. We lost every material possession we owned. My parents lost their home too, and with it, decades of memories made inside those walls.
Yeah, I can see why he's breaking down. He literally, he's born and raised in the Palisades.
I grew up in the Palisades. I moved through these streets thinking my 2 boys would grow up here just like I did, with that same hometown feeling. Then right before my eyes, the future I envisioned for my family burned to the ground. Standing here 1 year later, I have to tell you the most heartbreaking part of the past year wasn't being displaced or losing everything I own. It was the realization that all of this was preventable.
Here we go.
We are standing here amongst the ashes of our once beautiful town because the state and local leaders let us burn. Gavin Newsom and the state of California let brush grow wild in Topanga State Park for 50 years.
Now, Gavin's only responsible for about 7 years of that, but considering that Gavin Newsom became governor, literally governor-elect during the Camp Fire, the most destructive wildfire at the time the state had ever seen, you would think that brush clearance in places like state parks would be the number one priority. And while, sure, Gavin will tell you we've done more brush clearance than anybody else, it was Rick Caruso on the phone with Fox 11 the night of the fire saying some of that brush has been there for 30, 40 years. So that's a failure of multiple levels of government and multiple eras of administrations.
With no prescribed burns and no wildfire maintenance, Gavin Newsom and the state of California created an insurance market so hostile that every major carrier stopped writing policies and dropped our families and our neighbors just before the sparks flew here in the Palisades.
And that's really important, too, because it wasn't just a coincidence that insurers were dropping people left and right before these devastating wildfires. Sure, if you look at it from just a simple glance, you would think, yeah, well, California has a lot of wildfires, so there's obviously a lot of risk here. So it would make sense that, well, you have people that can't get insurance and the insurance companies don't want to be here. Well, what we found out was the real deal with that. What we found out was really happening was that Ricardo Lara, thanks to Gavin Newsom putting him in charge of making sure that the insurance market was stabilized, cut secret deals with the insurance companies, knowing that if they went along with his plan, they would able to be getting massive rate increases. And they would only have to re-add somewhat of the policies that they dropped. So they were almost incentivized to drop as many people as possible so people would realize that we're in a crisis and we need to change the regulations. And now they can jack up the fees for everybody, including State Farm, who announced right after the fires that they needed a massive rate increase, got it without a hearing. Then there was a hearing, but they already got the increase, then immediately asked for another one.
Trailblazing is rarely comfortable, yo.
Gavin Newsom and his state park policies actually literally dictated that we let the Palisades burn. And
this is some of the questions that's coming up with the investigations as to what the hell happened with the Lockman fire, the fire that started before this. The allegations are that it was state parks employees that went up and with a map and told the firefighters where they could doze and where they couldn't doze, and that may have hindered the mop-up efforts.
Rangers put kindling over the smoldering embers of the January 1st Lockman fire, which would ultimately ignite the January 7th Palisades fire that burned 7,000 structures and took 12 lives. Janice Quinones and
oh, wow, he knows her name? Janice Quinones.
LADWP left our reservoirs empty despite collecting a salary of $750,000 per year.
Now it's double that because we have to pay for her security. But Janice Quinones, who Karen Bass said we should be thankful that she's working for $750,000 because that's a pay cut from when she worked at PG&E, because of course you hire somebody from PG&E to be in charge of our water system. Yeah, that reservoir was a disaster. And didn't Gavin say he was going to do an investigation into why that reservoir was empty for a year? Still nothing. And aren't they emptying that reservoir again?
The LAFD failed to deploy sufficient firefighters, fire engines, and firefighting resources, whether it be due to lack of budget, lack of knowledge, or simply DEI.
Could be all of the above. There definitely was a lack of budget. You know, the LAFD has about half the amount of fire stations it should for this population. That is a nightmare.
And while our lives were literally burning to the ground. Mayor Karen Bass was in Ghana. We all cope with loss differently. I coped with mine by eating burritos and putting every ounce of energy into uncovering the truth. And the dirty facts I've uncovered this year have completely blown me away.
And, you know, he has been very active on social media. He's been talking to whistleblowers. He has got stuff out there before the news has even got there. And the response from Karen Bass is, oh, he's trying to profit off this. And the response from Gavin Newsom and his bitchy Twitter account is, oh, he's a washed up reality star. His house burned down.
They have changed the way I view the world forever. I used to think my taxpayer dollars funded a functional city and a state government whose infrastructure and essential services would be there when I needed them.
If he did believe that, he was very naive, or like most Californians, he wasn't really paying attention. But, we all get woken up eventually.
But I was completely naive. Our elected officials were warned for years about brush management, about the homeless crisis interrupting our fire safety.
And that is important. That is very, very, very important, because part of the reason that the LAFD is stretched so thin, and possibly, we don't know this, but possibly the reason that the LAFD can't take all the time necessary to make sure that a fire that breaks out in a wildfire-prone area is mopped up properly is because the LAFD has to get sent out 36 times a day to homeless fires.
About our city's crumbling infrastructure, but they did nothing. They all stood by while our community became a tinderbox. And when the photo ops were done, they retreated into their office and buried fire victims in bureaucracy. Despite record-breaking cleanup by the EPA and the Army Corps of Engineers.
Although there's questions about that cleanup, and did they really get all the toxic debris out of there and all the toxic materials out of there?
And despite nearly $4 billion in loans approved by the SBA, most fire victims cannot rebuild due to building permits and city regulations. This isn't just a political failure.
And let's not forget, Karen Bass made a promise, and she made it at her budget presentation. She made a promise to the fire victims of the Palisades. She's not responsible for the Eaton fire. That's not the city of Los Angeles. But she said, we are going to, at the city of LA, waive all permit fees. And we are now a year later, and that has not happened. It is a mess, and it is a disaster. And the city's like, well, we can't afford it. We'll lose money on this. Well, these people wouldn't be filing permits if you hadn't let their homes burn down. So what exactly is the money you think you're making here? This isn't somebody looking to do a remodel or build a new house. They're trying to replace what was lost.
It's a moral.
And again, Karen Bass promised that. Nothing.
One.
And maybe this city's too damn big. Ever thought about that? Maybe, just maybe, a city of 4 million people is a little too big considering the idiots we have in charge of it. If the Palisades is rebuilt, they should incorporate immediately. And I think most major neighborhoods in LA should incorporate. This city is a freaking mess.
You know, I've spent a lot of my life in the public eye, and I've seen the games people play. I know the scripts they follow and the masks they wear. But this past year has stripped all that away. I've looked at my kids and my wife. I've looked at my family and my neighbors, and I have realized that the city I love is being managed into the ground by people who don't have the courage to actually lead. NGOs, nonprofits, and unions are running this town. Why do you think $100 million in fire aid money is missing?
And of course, what does Fire Aid say? No, that money was always supposed to go to nonprofits and not to the direct fire victims.
The system in Los Angeles isn't struggling. It's fundamentally broken. It is a machine designed to protect the people at the top and the friends they exchange favors with, while the rest of us drown in toxic smoke and ash. Business as usual is a death sentence for Los Angeles. And I'm done waiting for someone to take real action.
Here we go.
That's why I am running for mayor. And me be clear. This just isn't a campaign. This is a mission, and we are going to expose the system. We are going into every dark corner of LA politics and disinfecting the city with our light. And when we are done, LA is going to be camera ready again.
There you go. That was the major announcement at today's They Let Us Burn rally. Spencer Pratt, Palisades resident, former reality star, announced that he is running for mayor of Los Angeles against Karen Bass. Now is your opportunity to react. What do you think about Spencer Pratt entering the mayor's race? You think this will be good for Karen Bass? Do you think he has a chance in this ridiculous city? 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. Your thoughts on Spencer Pratt announcing that he's running for mayor of Los Angeles. He is challenging Karen Bass. What do you have to say? Have you got thoughts about that? You got thoughts about the fire? The phones are open right now. We're here to take your call. 800-222-5222. 1-800-222-5222. Spencer Pratt announced he's running for mayor. What say you? 800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. We're taking your phone calls, 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. Today is the one-year anniversary of the Palisades and Eden fires, and at the They Let Us Burn rally, Spencer Pratt, Palisades resident, announced that he is running for mayor. What do you think? What do you think about the fires? Give us a call, 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. Let's start with Maria in Venice. Maria, hello.
Hey, Randy, I am 1,000% for Spencer Pratt running for mayor. I just can't think of a better candidate because he has personally felt the pain of losing everything in that Palisades fire. And he does his research. I mean, I'm sure you followed him on Instagram, on Reels, all that social media. The way he speaks, he's poised. He does his research. He pays attention to detail. He's funny. He's got a hilarious, some of those Reels are a riot, even though it's pounding home, a very sad message that our politicians have failed us. So I am 1,000% for him. And I do feel he's a man on a mission. I don't think this is just a campaign. I think he's a man on a mission to get to the bottom of things and hopefully to fix them.
Well, and here's the best part about this. This makes sure that every single day of this campaign going up to the June primary, the thing that Karen Bass is going to have to deal with was her massive failure with these fires, because Spencer Pratt is not going to shut up about it, nor should he, because he personally lost his home. He lost his everything. His parents lost their homes because of, in part, the incompetence of the city of Los Angeles, and the fish rots from the head, and the head is Karen Bass, and she got to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutamente. I 1,000% agree with you, Randy. Yes. And hopefully Spencer Pratt will be the man. I'm like so excited. I just want to skip down the street.
Well, love to hear it, Maria. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. The phone lines are open right now. 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. Spencer Pratt announced today at the one-year anniversary of the fires that he's running for mayor. What do you think? Does he have a chance? If you want to talk about Spencer Pratt running for mayor, you want to talk about these fires, who's to blame, the mess that's been going on, give us a call right now. 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. That's the phone number. Join us. We're taking your calls for the rest of the hour. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls. 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. Your emails at randywangradio@gmail.com and search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. We're taking your phone calls right now. 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. Today is the 1-year anniversary of the Palisades and Eaton fires. Down at the Palisades, there was a rally called the They Let Us Burn rally, where Spencer Pratt, noted critic of the response to the Palisades, announced he's running for mayor against Karen Bass. What do you think? Whether it's about Spencer Pratt or the fire response, it's been a year. If you need to vent, you get something to say, we got a phone line for you. 800-222-5222. Let's start with Richard in L.A. Richard, hello.
How you doing, Randy? Great show. You know, you look at that fire, and I'm very, very sad for everybody that lost their house in fire. I was over there months after the fire just talking to people. But it turned out even Spencer Pratt probably talked to him. But, you know, you blaming the mayor, but the 100% of it is, you know, you have to look at the fire chief. And if you got a plane and you got a pilot, you know, the mayor has the pilot to fly the plane. Maybe she don't know how to fly the plane, but she had that person in charge to fly the plane. And it should have been aware with all the fires in the city of Los Angeles that, hey, maybe this could happen, you know, because even on the architectural drawings, houses built over there, they put high fire area. So basically, on the hindsight, you got a storm. The fire chief, I mean, to me, it's almost a no-brainer. It's almost, you know, you got to look at the mayor as really being a hero because he only had 18 lives killed. You know, I was at MGM fire 40 years ago. 85 people dead in a minute. So you're blaming the mayor about keeping you alive. Of course, the materials are gone, but technically there's nothing you can do about it with the wind blowing 100 miles an hour and like a match that turned into a bonfire because somebody didn't think that maybe this fire might go in the Palisades and let's put some fire trucks over here, you know, to try to prevent this from happening. And that's one thing.
Well, and the fact that there was a fire there 6 days ago, and that turns out to be that fire that wasn't totally put out was what reignited and became that fire. That's a failure in so many different aspects. Yes, the fire chief is to blame. The management that called the people off there is to blame. The state parks people are there to blame. But Karen Bass was not even here for any of this. She didn't care about any of this, and there were plenty of alerts about how bad the wind was going to be. The fact that she didn't care because she wanted to go to a party in Africa is disqualifying.
Well, you know, you look at it that way, but another thing, the police did get people out of there. Their lives did. You had over 5,000 people. Okay, MGM had 5,000
you have so many heroic stories that happen. You're totally right about that, and especially considering how hard it is to get in and out of there when people abandoned their cars because they couldn't get off on Sunset, so they had to bulldoze the cars off the road because they couldn't get emergency vehicles up there. Yes, there was some truly heroic stories, but there also were some complete and utter failures. The fact that there was no water in some of the fire hydrants, the fact that we had the brush not being cleared, the reservoir being empty. These were some massive failures. Yes, it was really, really, really awful winds, but it was also a lot of incompetence coming from the city of Los Angeles. And in the rebuilding, we're still seeing that. The fact that Karen Bass promised that she would waive the permit fees, and we're still a year later, she hasn't been able to deliver on that, that's embarrassing.
Well, Randy, one thing, I did put out an MGM plan to get people back in their house as quick as possible to Tracy Park and Karen Bass. If they look at it, because to get it built, because you're going to have this litigation go on forever, just like MGM. To get it built first, and then you talk about it, because these people are suffering. I'm telling you, I looked at that neighborhood, it's nothing but tears. It's like, what the, you know, and to me, you know, you look at failures, but hey, you got calamity, like at MGM. People open the doors, kill. You don't know what to do with fire. Everybody's running to save their lives, and you can't look at the mayor for saving lives. They did have the police there. They did notify people to get out of there. So as far as material things, you know, you've got to blame God, I guess, because he wished you would good things, you know? It wasn't a bad neighborhood, and it just turned into the Platinum Triangle. Get that place rebuilt. It's a beautiful area. You know, that's all I'm saying.
Well, there you go, Richard. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. Although you definitely could leave blame if you talk about the other fire, the Eden fire. There were portions of Altadena that never got those emergency notifications. That's a whole other failure. Let's go to Scott in Hollywood. Scott, hello.
Hi, Randy. Welcome back. Hey, so I was there today. There were approximately 3,000 to 5,000 people there. It wasn't just 1,000 as ABC7 reported, but it was a great time. When Spencer Pratt announced he was running, the crowd erupted. But getting back to your prior caller, okay, so, I'm a lawyer. If my secretary messes up a deadline and I blow a deadline, I'm responsible. She's responsible, but I'm responsible for her. There is multiple levels of failure, but there's one person in charge of this city, and that's Karen Bass. And let's not forget, Chief Crowley specifically said, she was testifying, I think, with City Hall, they've asked us to do more with less. That money that was deprived from LAFD went right over to the homeless scheme. My sign that I brought, that I had made, said, the Palisades paid the ultimate price for Karen Bass's homeless scheme. And that's one thing that was kind of lost on all the speakers today, was that no one's really talking about how the fact that the LAFD was underfunded, all these trucks in the boneyard, they had the firemen ready, but there were no trucks for them because there wasn't enough money to fix the trucks. So I think that, Spencer Pratt's certainly inspiring. I think that he's going to have she's going to have a hard time meeting up with him on a debate stage. That's what I want to see. Is she going to show up? I don't know.
Well, her best strategy is to remain hidden and not be on the public stage for as long as possible until June, because if she got on a debate stage, not only with Spencer Pratt, but the other people running as well, Assad Al-Najjar, even you throw in Buettner as well. She doesn't have good answers for any of the failures of her administration, whether it is the Palisades fire, whether it is the homeless crisis where it has bankrupted the city for marginal effects of encampments being gone and us paying $17,000 per person per month to stay in motel rooms indefinitely, whether it's the other fire disaster that happened under her watch when the 10 freeway melted. There are no good answers or good defenses. This city is in worse shape than it was at the previous mayor, and that's saying something, as the previous mayor was Eric Garcetti, and he was a disaster.
It is. The city has disintegrated since Eric Garcetti, and it's accelerated in its disintegration under Karen Bass. I think we can agree on that.
For sure. Thanks so much for the call, Scott. Appreciate it. Let's go to Vera in Redondo Beach. Vera, hello.
Hi, I'm so glad you're back. It's been a long vacation. Do you have to go on vacation? But back to Karen.
I do. I get 4 weeks in my contract.
Okay, God bless you. I wish I had that. But I missed you tremendously. But this Karen, oh my God, we got a challenger. We got a chance to get this loser. And this dude that's standing up for her, he needs to get you can't say certain things, but I can say it. He needs to get his head out of the back end of Karen Bass. She's a complete failure. Okay? These poor people, I don't care if you're rich, poor, nothing. She said she was going to waive fees. She hasn't said a thing. All that underbrush that the state should have cleaned was fuel. Look, I'm overwhelmed. As you can tell, I picked up my phone while I was driving and dialed a number and clapping my hands. Somebody standing up. I'm going to volunteer to do something. If it's licking envelopes with COVID on it, I'm going to do something to help this dude push this loser out.
Love to hear it. I love your passion. We always appreciate you calling, Vera. And don't you worry, I'm not going on vacation for quite some time. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. Let's go to Mike in Anaheim. Mike, hello.
Hey, Randy. How you doing, man?
Doing great.
I was just calling because, like everybody else, the watching and witnessing Pratt kind of coming out of his reality kingdom and making some common sense for a lot of the people in the Palisades and Altadena. I'm just worried that he's too fire-centered, that a lot of other Los Angeles topics could be missed by him. And I'm hoping he puts together a really good team and not Heidi and try to get something together, because he does have a lot of momentum, and it would be really re-energizing to see that kind of momentum to go in. I don't know what you think about that as far as his other views. I don't think he's really shared a lot.
Well, I think that's really important, and that's a really good point. We know how passionate he is, and the work he's done uncovering some of the failures and the corruption when it comes to the fire response. But that's not the only thing going on in Los Angeles. Los Angeles is a massive city with a whole lot of problems. So we do need to know what his stance is on a whole bunch of different things, especially homelessness, the police, everything else. So if he's filed, so he's serious about doing this. He's going to have to make his platform known as to what he stands for every major issue facing the city.
Yeah, truly. All right, Randy, have a good night, man.
Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. Let's go to John in Sherman Oaks. John, hello.
Hello. Yes, I do think that Spencer Pratt would need a lot of help. I honestly didn't know who he was until you said that he was a reality star. His speech sure sounded great, but if you just look at the last election, you had Caruso, a very wealthy man, and he had held several positions in the city. But when you have the President of the United States, the Vice President of the United States, the former President of the United States, and the current Governor of California coming in to support Bass, well, who do you think was going to win? And Caruso was a Democrat himself. So she's just really got it in. If she gets the support she had in the last election, how could she lose?
It is definitely an uphill climb. The one thing you can say is she was an unknown quantity. She had served in Congress, but no one had ever seen her lead in this kind of role before. And I'm sure there are plenty of people, especially the ones in the fire zones, that are not too happy with how she has run this city. Thanks so much for the call, John. Appreciate it. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. You know, one of the things I'd love to hear Spencer Pratt bring up is, sure, Karen Bass fired Kristen Crowley and made her the scapegoat for everything that went wrong with the fires, but sure, the LAFD had a lot of blame, especially with everything we're learning about the Lockman fire and the edited after-action report. But there were so many failures with the LADWP. But Janice Quinones got to keep her job at $750,000 a year. When we come back, we'll hear what Karen Bass has to say about all this. She spoke to ABC7 yesterday. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Let's hear what the current mayor has to say about all this. She spoke to ABC7 yesterday, reflecting on 1 year since the fires.
LA Mayor Karen Bass has faced criticism and anger from the community over her handling of the Palisades fire over the past year. Eyewitness News political reporter Josh Haskell walked through the Palisades with the mayor today to discuss the resentment that remains 1 year later.
Palisades is always top of mind, and I'm not going to rest until Palisades looks like it did before January 7th.
Well, even if you got a second term, you'd be termed out before that happens.
Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass was out of the country in Africa 1 year ago when the Palisades fire erupted. Destroying nearly 7,000 structures. It was a rocky start to her response to the greatest disaster in the city's history, and there have been more challenges and scandals along the way. But at the 1 year mark, Bass says she's inspired by the pace of rebuilding, with 417 homes currently under construction.
You mean 400 out of 6,000? Wow, we're doing great.
Lots of rebuilding going on. Most people that are rebuilding are still not home.
1 year after the fires, are you surprised that so much of that anger is directed at you?
A little, but again, I do understand the anger.
If you're surprised, you're not paying attention.
If they need to focus them on me, you know, whatever it takes them to heal and get through this. I don't take it personally.
there's a rally being held tomorrow called They Let Us Burn. Right. Is that how people should be commemorating this 1-year anniversary?
Well, it's how thousands of people did because they feel betrayed by the city that they have paid so much in taxes to.
Well, I don't think so. Again, I think that there are people that are profiting off of this. And that is what I find very despicable.
Who's profiting off of the fact that people are uncovering the failures of local and state government?
Intentionally putting out misinformation, intentionally profiting from social media.
What's the misinformation?
Book deals, etc. And I think that that's unfortunate. To me, I hope that it's about healing and moving forward and getting this community back. Every single Palisadian that wants to come back, that should be the focus.
Well, one of the things that Karen Bass said was her focus was waiving permit fees, and she did not get that done. City Council, it's still in committee. They can't figure it out. How complicated is that? What an embarrassment. That should be a number one priority. Of course, the city has many other priorities, including Karen Bass's $800 million a year inside safe.
Bass has signed 13 executive directives aimed at expediting rebuilding, and residents we've spoken with say the permitting process with the city isn't what slowed them down, but rather insurance.
And you can't totally blame Karen Bass for that one, but you can blame Gavin Newsom or Ricardo Lara for that one.
Bass hopes those rebuilding recognize they're in a high fire severity zone.
You have people who continue to tell me every single time I'm here this should have never happened. Should this have ever happened?
Of course it should have never happened, but I do think that's something that we're all coming to grips with in our world, but certainly within our city. Weather events that we would...
Here we go. Let's blame it on how windy it was. It was pretty damn windy, I'll give you that. But the wind doesn't just magically make fire. You either have what happened in Eaton Canyon, where old equipment that should have been de-energized from SoCal Edison sparked, or you have what happened in the Palisades, where a fire that was put out wasn't really put out, and it reignited.
Would have never thought would have taken place in Los Angeles.
But questions still...
So there you go. It's 1 year since the fire. Hopefully a year from now, we'll have a lot more recovery. We'll have a lot more rebuilding, and maybe we'll have new people in charge. We'll find out. The election's in June. Thank you all so much for listening, taking calls, and being a part of this show. If you ever miss an episode of the show, search for the KBC News Blitz wherever you get your podcast. It's the News Blitz.